Folks, this is Joseph Snell, and we're just going to have a talk today. We're going to talk about various things, and we're going to begin with talking a little bit about our channels. And we're going to start off with Joe, and he's going to talk a little bit about his channel and himself. So
Yeah.
have the
So
floor, Joe.
so my channel is primarily about, sharing wisdom about how I perceive events partaking in this world. There's no right or wrong way. I give my kind of like 2 cents, and then I provide information with sources that I come across that helped me to better understand and clarify things. And that's the key point, is being proactive and looking into this and not just, you know, someone tells you to believe, oh yeah, that's true. That's my point, is like I get you to question things and see things in a different sense. And they're not negative questions. They're more of like, you can choose to see it in a negative way or see it in a positive way, or you can pick something out and learn from something, and take you out of that fear reactive state, which a lot of people are unfortunately in. And that's kind of the point. And I call myself For Truth Revealed. It's, you know for a reason, because I'm revealing the truth and it's for truth. And that's kind of the reason why I do it. And I try and not hop on the bandwagon of copy every other people. So there's I have probably about nine videos up, I think, but technically only eight, because one of them is a private one, but which is
What is that private one? You mind sharing what
that
that
was the
is?
one I recorded for you. It's for everyone to download documents from your Wix website.
Okay, you want to talk a little bit about that so people know, and then I can put the link in and you
Oh yeah,
can make it available, and then I can put the link within the description for this video.
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So essentially, you have to use, a couple. I mean, I use two different browsers for my phone, but I use DuckDuckGo and then another browser to download. And what you do is you use the bookmark tab in the embedded material as you're viewing the PDF. I think you could share the link through the PC.
Hold on a second. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just, for clarity's sake, for those who may be listening, this is about downloading the PDFs that are on my website through your phone. Because of the viewer that I was using, you couldn't directly just download them. You can do it through your computer, but not through the phone. So Joe went ahead and found out a way to go about doing that on the phone. So that's what he's talking about here. Again, there's a video that he's going to cover this in more detail, and that's going to be posted in the link, so you can go check that out if you want to download any of these PDFs on your phone from my website. So sorry about that, Joe. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah. And I mean, if anything, just when he shares that link to the video, I explain everything. So it's kind of a complicated series of steps to bypass it. So, I mean, you just use DuckDuckGo browser. And the reason why I use DuckDuckGo browser is because all these trackers and stuff that they implement through these browsers makes the mobile phone bug out, so it doesn't properly display the document embedded material within the website. And I explain that, and I even show a video walkthrough of me doing it through my phone. And I just say to you guys, just watch, pay attention. And there, if you need to comment on that video, then by all means comment on the video, and I'll help clarify certain points. I may go back and add timestamps as well. So
Okay.
that's about it.
Great. Well, thanks, Joe, for doing that. Folks, he put a lot of work into that. So, again, if you want to be able to download from your phone, be it that the PDF viewer that I'm using, it's a free one, and it's the only one that I can use because that's only I can only afford free. Again, to emphasize, you can download those from the computer, as what Joe was talking about. You don't see those certain things, such as the download button on the PDF that you do see on the computer. You don't see it on the phone, and that's what he's looking to resolve here, so that you can download it from your phone. So, yeah, again, put the within the description, it'll be there, so you guys want to check that out. If you want to do that, that's fine. And again, thanks, Joe, for taking the time out to do that. So let's get back to your channel a little bit more. So
Yeah. So my channel, I share events, anything that I feel that needs to be clarified with anyone going through their own awakening. Like everyone has their own stages, their own, you know, ways of going about, awakening, getting information, certain ways, certain tools, certain things you guys need to, everyone that needs to be aware of, you know, some of it's not so much about the information, but how you deal with the information, you know, and some of it is how these, I think it was my last one was how, or previous to the last one was how the dark ones really affect you, and they, attack your three lower, chakras or chakras, however you want to say it, through the ego, and then you listen to your mind, and that kind of how it attacks you, in a sense. It's kind of an advanced way of thinking.
Right.
So,
And yeah, being aware that your thoughts are not your own. Knowing the difference between your thoughts and random thoughts, and there's a whole lot of traffic as far as within this reality field, a
yeah,
lot of energetic traffic taking place.
yeah,
So it's the example to this, which would be the obvious example to your thoughts not being your own, is when fleeting thoughts come into your mind and you're going, I wasn't thinking of anything like that, and it just happened. And in some cases, it may be what you consider to be a negative thought or something that's not encouraging or uplifting or centered in its
yeah,
energy or the way that the word comes to you or whatever it may be. So it's being aware. That's the obvious way to determine that. But also, it will, when we're talking about this, where we're referring to implants within the etheric or within the holographic template, that affects your nervous system, and you'll hear things that can be kind, especially
yeah,
for those who have been connected with certain religious movements. You become corded energetically because, with the God of the Bible, it's a submission thing. So you become corded and you become implanted, and then you'll hear things related to that. And it may sound kind of kind, but it's really just, if you don't know any better, it's just directing you in the way that it wants you to be directed. That has nothing to do with your sovereign will. We're talking about freedom here. Freedom here is not to be spooky, but it's difficult to be able to obtain your sovereign direction and knowing that your will is the will that you're acting on rather than someone else's or some other energy. And that's a big thing that most people are not aware of, is the implants, how much that affects them. Myself personally, because I spent 27 years in Christianity, in lifetimes prior to that, under servitude of these beings, it can be quite difficult because it'll short circuit you. That's another subject as far as the implants, how involved they can affect you. And literally, it was hell for me. I'm still dealing with them, okay, because of the condition here. But my point would be here is that you can bring into question what you need to bring into question without judgment. In other words, your energy can be neutral when you look at something. When you have an experience, look at the experience as an experience, not your sense of identity. A lot of people have become so connected with their experiences because in some cases they're so profound, they become that aspect of the experience. That becomes their identity. And that's not their identity. That is just an experience. The idea is to know what that experience is. And sometimes, well, most cases, I can speak for myself, that can take years to process to kind of figure it out. It just doesn't happen all at once, especially things that have lasted a lifetime or lifetimes that have gone on from one lifetime to another. So getting in a state of neutrality, we're going to talk a little bit about that later, okay? But I
yeah,
just want to put that input in there because of my own personal connection to that and how much of a struggle that it had been. And to this point, it's better than it has ever been because I've come a long way and it's taken a long way. You know, a lot of people have these experiences, such as with the implant, as far as the reaction, they'll hear thoughts and yada, 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 and they don't know what it is. And, or mostly, they don't know what to do about it. And one of the key things that you can do about it is just to become centered and realize that stillness of neutrality. And I'm talking about neutrality. You can feel your own energy. Your energy's there regardless of all the input and all the extraneous energy that is occurring around you. You can find that little sliver of yourself in the middle of it. That's what you want to lean on. You don't need to act on anything. You just stay neutral and you center yourself. And then through that, you're able to observe, not making any judgment, just seeing it for what it is. That type of meditation I would recommend people to do, because this is something, once you begin to do it, it's easy for you to fall into that state and be able to be neutral, even if it's just momentarily occurring with you. Because within that moment, whether it's short or not, there's a whole lot of processing that can take place within within a nanosecond. So, just saying.
Yeah, so originally, like, it started just sharing information about events and stuff, and I realized that I was just feeding into that chaos and thus creating chaos myself. So there were some things that, because before I was just sharing these pictures on Instagram, and I'm like, you know what, I need to make videos because it's too long to put in a single post, and I've learned to not feed into that chaotic energies because I had a realization that I was becoming chaotic myself, getting sad, putting myself in those bad emotions, and you know and since I stopped, I've been like centered, more neutral with everything, and I can understand, see things clearly, like and it's not like I'm being ignorant of these issues, but it's that I don't want them to affect me.
So you've been communicating things based on your personal experiences, how things are working, how things are not working for you, and trying to share that with other individuals so that they can benefit from that's worked for you, right?
Yeah, so like, I don't really go into my private information. I just share what I've learned and things that have happened to me, but I share it like this is how it could occur and affect you in a way.
Right.
And because a lot of the stuff that I've been through, it's been nothing but dark attacks
Hmm.
from birth, and it's been very traumatic. And there's stuff that I keep offline because I usually have to recenter myself, do a lot of energy clearing, you know, and it's
It's
it's a complex
it's a work in
series of
progress.
events.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's all work in progress, you know. There is no, just to emphasize, because there's a tendency for people to want to find something that works for the overall encompassing so-called collective. There isn't, because we're individuated. And what we desire specifically in regard to who and what we are as a subdivision of soul relates to our very specific, unique frequency. Everybody's different, completely different from one another. You identify yourself through your tone. So you, as a being, desire certain things, and it's not everybody's. Everybody has, and they have to find.
yeah,
You have to rediscover what that is for yourself. You come here into this world. Perhaps you have a mission, and perhaps you have the cards stacked against you, even though perhaps maybe you didn't plan that before you came here, but that's what you got. And it's such a frequency drop here, you become blank slated, you can't remember anything. So you have to so you have a lot of people just kind of meandering around and wandering around and going with whatever they're going with. I did it for a very long time. even though there was a lot of beneficial things and a lot of experiences that I had that allows me for a greater sense of discernment here at this time in my life. The ability to process and all that has that certain things have definitely been beneficial in that regard. However, there's been great hardship being able to get to there, going through illness, almost dying several times. In fact, 5 minutes, 2 minutes from physical death, torment and suffering, trauma. None of that stuff's fun. It's horrific. It doesn't really benefit anything. But if it does anything, at least for what me, concerning myself, it took all the regressed programs that would cause me not to want to remember, because that's how the programs work. The programs, when I'm talking about implants now, how programming works is to get your focus off of those things. And one example of that would be, you live in a house, okay? Picture that. And you have a library in that house. But one day, you pass the room that has the library in it, but you never ever go into it anymore, because in your mind, it doesn't exist. This is what implants intentionally do. They keep you from doing and connecting to your identity. That's the primary reason for it. So you're not effective when you are here. Now, there's no boogeyman. There's no right or wrong in this. This is what you chose when you came here. You know, you've seen millions of outcomes, and you just so happen to be experiencing one of those outcomes. But it's important to know that that's how it works. How you recover who you are is through your joy. This is very important, folks. If you hear anything, please hear this. How you recover things is through your joy and love. True nature of your individuated frequency love, not God love, your love. I know that flies in the face of some people, but get over it. You as a sovereign have a unique expression, and how you find that is through the true nature of who and what you are within this construct. And that is the love that you have always been, and it's through the expression of joy through which you expand. That's how you recover who you are. And you recover that through the expression of the nature of who you are, not necessarily your past lives and all that other stuff. Because that doesn't matter. Because what matters is here and now. Not saying that you recovering your past lives can't be important. It can. But what's now is now. What's experienced now. And the nature and the essence of who you are becoming reintegrated so that you are able to express yourself in the way that you are as a soul, that's your catalyst. That is most important. Not so much about how much knowledge you get or whatever, or you're following this, and this is the right structure for the universe, and this is the creation model that you should adhere to, and this is the ceremonies that you should do, and you should do this and activate that. Excuse my language, horseshit. Straight up horseshit. That's religion. You as a unique soul are transcendent of that. You don't have a beginning or end. You have all that you need as long as you reconnect to the true nature of who you are. Because love, the true expression of unconditional love, the expression of that through you as the being that you are, never gets lost. Ever. Regardless of what anybody says, what Keylontic science says. Not buying it. Because I know better, and so do a lot of other people. I'm not going to lose myself in manifestation. As long as you can connect to the true nature essence of yourself, you rediscovered it. And you don't need a whole lot of information. It's a connection that you make deep within your being. So here's the response I have to this. What gives you joy? What gives you joy? I mean, that has nothing to do with anybody, just you. What gives you joy? Is it creating? Are you a musician? Are you an artist? Are you a dancer? Or whatever you want to put on? Are you a scientist? Whatever it is, what gives you joy? And some people, fortunately, are able to make a vocation of it. And when you find that expression within you, you know, you'll ask yourself, I've been doing a bunch of stuff that I haven't really been wanting to do because I thought this is what you're supposed to do. But what I really love, like I've had people say this to me, oh, music is my first love. And so why are you doing what you're doing? Get back to your first love. You have, like, they'll have children. It's like, well, encourage your children to do whatever they're going to do for as music or art or whatever they love. And they do. But do your thing. Demonstrate it in front of everybody. Don't hold back. I'm guilty of this. Most of my life has been guilty of this. Always felt like I was less than something. Never measured up, always got to be humble and submissive. Always selling myself out, always sacrificing myself for somebody else. For what reason? How did it benefit them? It didn't. Because I felt I should. There's a difference between believing and knowing. When you know to do something, do it. Otherwise, you're going to substitute the very thing that you are for something that you're not. And you'll never connect with that thing that you're not because somebody told you this is what you should do. That's what they should do because that's them. But that's not you. And finding authentic self is simple as finding your joy. Always.
And the key thing that the reason why I do it is because I just come across this information and anything that I want to pull out of wherever it comes from, just naturally. I'm a natural, let's put it that way. And it's not it's not like, someone told me and I'm following orders. No, one day I just woke up and this idea pops in my head. I'm like, I'm gonna do that today.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, it's nice to be able to do that and also not to have any conflict with yourself that keeps you from doing it. It's very important. For me personally, it took a long time for me to make the crossover to that because it all started when I was 6 months old. So things like that. And when I was 6 months old, I remembered here vividly what the crib looked like. It was one of those drop down crib. It's up off of the ground. Okay. And it would have a gate that would be open, would be like a change gate. Okay. And it had these dowels on it, fancy kind of, we're talking about 1960. So you can get an idea as far as what the, type of furniture was being used. So I see this. I have it vividly in my mind in front of me. At 6 months old, I see my brother. I didn't know this before. Okay. I actually see this vividly right now as I'm talking about. I could see it. He was sitting at the edge of the bed. I can see his face. I can see how young he is. And I can see the room and I see the bed. I see everything. I can see the color of the walls. I can see across the hall is a bathroom where my mother went and left the gate open, which she probably should have closed it. She left it open to go get water and take care because it's diaper change time. Okay. So she just rushed in there to do that. And during this time, I creep to the edge of the bed and I see something below it. And it goes underneath. I turn to look underneath. And when I did, whoop, upper cervical instability. So from the very beginning, I had stuff happening. I left the body, came back a year and a half later. And when I did, the body was totally jacked up. Long story. Really is a long story. But the point is that it's been obstacles after obstacle after obstacle. first remember being abducted when I was 12, but I was being abducted when I was younger. I understand about things having it out for you. When you come in, it's like, no, you're not. Because I know that I was supposed to be a household name. And people think, well, that's arrogant. I don't care what you think. I know that I was, because I know if you're going to make an impact, you have to be. Otherwise, you can, fit into your sphere of influence and affect people. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's great too. But that's not what I was meant to do. And that was stopped, which means I have a track record of getting in the way. At a certain point, I made a decision. And so the idea was to ring me back around and put me under submission of the God of the Bible again. Yeah. And that's what happened. And then I came out of it when I became bedridden at 33. I start reliving a lot of things, and that includes the destruction or what happened with Tara. I actually remember that. I almost died when I was remembering it vividly. Why am I saying all this? Well, a lot of reasons, but mainly is like when you know to do something and you can do it, what Joe's emphasizing, at least I'm trying to put a cap on it, so that point's not lost, do it. It's like, again, the emphasis, when you know what to do, do it. Your joy. It's about your joy. You're doing it because this is why you're inspired to do it. That's the reason why I have done all these videos. You think these are mental, perceived ideas I plan? I don't do things that way either, Joe. It's like in the moment, boom, I'm there because I'm only living in the moment. And especially when you have a physical malady, I have an enlarged heart, I have upper circular instability, and I have cancer in my colon. It's not fun. But my spirit energy is still, I'm like a leather boot, man. As long as I'm here, I'm like a leather boot. It's not fun. It's hard. It's the most difficult thing that I've been going through. Nobody knows but me, and nobody knows. That's the point. You don't want to follow anybody, people. You don't, because you're the one that needs to be followed. Only you are you. You can't be somebody else unless you would look to impersonate them. And then that's fake. And you'll never know who and what you are, So I'm not saying anything other than being genuine. And how do you be genuine? It's not easy necessarily. For some people, I've paid dearly. It's priceless. There's no way that you can put anything kind of value on it because it transcends all that. And for some people, it's extremely difficult. And if so, again, to emphasize what Joe's saying, when you can do something and you're not you're just going with what you feel to do within the moment, well, then do it. And like, I guess Joe would agree with this. The only time to do it, Joe, is when? Then, right? Not tomorrow, not something you plan for the next, yeah. So, go ahead, proceed.
And, that's why I do the channel, because it's like, that was like, I'm gonna go back to your point, because I thought about it when I was sitting there. I'm like, I couldn't make a channel, or I'd be too late, and I won't be able to. I can lose my chance, or maybe something happens to me, which I don't know because it's kept out of my memory or knowledge. It's kind of like, not to put fear in everyone, but like, live your day like it's your last day. Like, enjoy, be positive,
right.
Have love, have peace, help others. It's when you can, like if you can, like help others. Or do your best to help others.
Do what you can genuinely.
Yeah. That's the point.
To reflect on that, it's the present condition that you're in that allows you to do anything. So if you're working within loving yourself and thinking of yourself at the highest level, and you should, because when you do that, that energy allows you to be able to transmit it. It allows you to, within circumstances, to be able to administer that. So if you see somebody, you feel really good about yourself, and you feel the love within you, and you see something, you're going to treat that person the same way. You're just going to do it. And so it's very important. Enjoying yourself, again, people define that a different way than probably the way that I'm actually using it. enjoying yourself is what I'm saying is rekindling the joy of self within you, not going to a park and dancing around necessarily. You know what I'm saying? It's that's the reason, that's the word, enjoying. So you're now kindling the joy of yourself. It's okay to think highly of yourself. It's okay to feel good about and special about yourself. It's okay. In fact, what I'm saying here, I encourage it, because for you to be maximizing who you are within this identity is how effective you can be to others so that they can truly be the same way for themselves. You become an example by your demonstration. Like what Joe's talking about, being able to love, show, and share certain things with certain people if you're able. Well, when you're able, but practice being able by enjoying yourself, right? And that's something you have to renew yourself to day by day. So renewing your mind is important to who and what you are, not to some religious idea, that's for sure, regardless if it's Keylontic morphogenic science or not, which, by the way, is a religion. Bubble bursting. True story. You know who told me that? Daffy Duck. You got to believe what Daffy has to say. Come on, it's levity. Don't be so serious.
I'm
Most
just
of this stuff
listening.
is tongue in cheek because that's part of the joy, you know?
I just look at it as a science, like of an explanation of something, like how cells work. And I'm like, okay,
Well, that's not wrong with that. That's cool, man.
that's how
But,
I see it. No,
but
you
at the
know,
same what I'm trying to emphasize here, if anything at all, is just like you have to have, you can't, you can look at things seriously, but don't take it seriously.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying, because we're transcendent of this, at least the manifestation part of it. For
yeah,
I can say that generally for everybody that's here. Um, so that's nothing is truly manifest. It's my favorite quote. Nothing is truly manifest. It only appears to be so. It's true. Eventually, everybody wakes up from this. It's because the whole point of manifest reality is to see and experience self differently in order to expand, or to what means to become aware of something more of yourself through the experience, and hence you become the hologram itself. You interface with the hologram in order to have the real experience. That's why it's real. But
yeah,
it's an illusion, because we're talking about, again, emphasize who and what you really are. Well, it's not this. You're not the body, you're not an avatar, you're not a soul, you're more than all that. These are just terms that we use to connect with in relationship to the manifest construct. You know, another story, another time, for is what actually ascension is for. Anywho, anything else?
not much, other than just to everyone listening or watching anything, just be mindful of what you watch, what you hear, and what you do.
Agreed. Yeah, because you can easily cord with that energy. Speaking of which, that's a good segue. A segue into the use of the hands
Yeah.
energetically, right? The axial tonal lines, in a respect, what are the axial tonal lines? They're the consciousness bands that runs through the meridian of the body, the left side, the right side, and the vertical column. A lot of fancy terms being used for all that, like the vertical column, it's referred to as being the Hara line. It's like, really? Who understands that? Unless you're studying something that uses that jargon. It's simply your vertical column. Okay, let's just call it that, right? The reason why it's referred to as Hara is because supposedly that is the tone given for the 11-dimensional consciousness. Okay. Technically, if you look at according to what I've seen, Now, I don't know this stuff. All right. What I mean by that, I mentioned before belief and knowing. A lot of people teach things that they say that they know, and I'm thinking, no, you're just kind of just repeating what somebody else said. So I'm going to make a disclaimer right here and say this. I have certain experience with this, okay? Personal experience that allows me to know to a certain point. But when I look at a model and I present it to you, this is theoretical. That's the way I'm presenting it, and I just want that to be clear. That's probably the interesting, digressing a bit, but the interesting thing or uninteresting thing about being online is when you have new people show up, they don't even know what you talked about 3, 4, or 5 years ago. And you're constantly have to repeat yourself, and people listen to you one time, the Johnny come lately or Jill come run around the corner. Here's what you have to say, and they don't really understand what you mean by it, but they interpret it based on their definition of what they think it means to them. In most cases, in regard to myself, they are so far off that I was wondering whether or not that they opened several windows on their computer and watched another video, then commented on mine, because it was like, did you even watch this? Because it's like,
All right, one
man.
sec. Hold on. I got to do some research.
Yeah, it's just so silly, you know, so it
Yeah.
makes it difficult to deal with. So anyhow, to get back to the axial tonal lines, meridians. So the left side, feminine energy. Right side, masculine energy. Okay, let's look at it from a more technical perspective, of just a wee bit. Magnetic, electrical. So what does that mean with in respect to this structural design? Well, magnetic creates contraction or thrust. Electrical creates acceleration or oscillation. So think oscillation, vibration, all right? Vibration, oscillation, magnetic, electrical, all this different aspects of the same thing, okay? So when you look at the Merkaba, right, there is a spin ratio that is occurring within the electrical acceleration and the magnetic contraction. So the base code magnetic is spinning in opposite direction of the electrical field, okay? So that's a Merkaba. What is that doing? It creates a density. The density harmonic in relationship to that reality field. As an example, harmonic universe 1, which I refer all of these really, personally, I refer to them as being octaves because I see it harmonically. And I came up with the sound and light techniques because of that. Okay, that one word. Okay, so within the harmonic universe 1, we see the Merkaba, and we see magnetic, and we see electrical. Magnetic base, electrical acceleration. Now, if the electrical acceleration is greater than the magnetic base, it has a higher oscillation. If it is the reverse of that and the magnetic is more, it creates more of a dense environment and the vibration is higher. So within a higher oscillative state, you have the magnetic or vibration a lot lower and the oscillation a lot higher. Okay, so within the body, we're looking, okay, this is magnetic then, right here for the hand, right? Right hand, okay, this is electrical. So counterclockwise, clockwise. You want to neutralize yourself? Hold on, I have to move this out of the way. Okay, what that's doing, it's going in the right direction of how the Merkaba is supposed to spin. Okay, there's more to it as far as how you can do it, but it's all conscious intention. So you can actually, this can happen fast. if you go outside as an example and look and close your eyes and allow the sun to come into your eyes, then do that. What you're doing is you're going from a bi-wave of this polarity, and then you're going into a tri-wave, which is creating a neutrality or balancing. Okay.
Interesting.
These are basic, simple things. The hands are the hands are just amazing. I mean, this design even as compromised everything is here, it's still just so wonderful to observe and look at. But the capability that you can do as far as transmitting energy is extremely powerful through the hands. Okay, as an example here for the right hand, telepathically, it's interesting. If you look on my channel, you'll see this.
Yeah.
That's always been there, okay, from the very beginning. So what that is within the higher realms is that you're transmitting telepathically through this hand. This is a transmitter, okay? This is a receiver. So when you would go in front of a group of people or something, you would go, because you're communicating telepathically. And this focuses the intention like a waveform outwardly, okay? So the hands are powerful, but when you do this, because remember what this is electrical and this is magnetic, you take this and put it on top of this. And what this does, it cancels out any erroneous energy that's around it. It can't come into it. And then you can use this when you have the ability to heal somebody. This is how you're going to do it, because it doesn't allow for anything to come in. It's your pure intention that's working through. Your energy is very focused, and there's no erroneous energy that can enter into this. It cancels it out, right? So that's very powerful. The hand itself represents the time matricy. Okay, you look at it. If you look at the fingers and you subdivide it, right, along with the thumb. Okay, you got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right? So that's 9, 10, 11, 12. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Your fingers are segmented. Here's the core, right? That's the core of your being. Okay, so you go out on the side, then you look at the primal light fields right here. Here's the primal light fields right here. 1, 2, 3. It's yeah, the hands are amazing, dude. So when you start looking at the axitonal lines, you start seeing where these dimensional bands go through out the fingers and out through your toes. Because if you want to memorize it, you can memorize it. I'm going to put together a PDF, okay? For this, I have it already. It's already, but most people are not going to watch this. It's almost an hour. Who cares? If good for those who are watching this that are interested in this.
Yeah,
they'll get a lot from it. So if you memorize it, you can see the connection where the irae and where the manae energy is and how it relates to the 12-dimensional band and how it functions and the particle units in respect to manifestation. You can see everything. This is so interesting. If you don't need to learn a whole lot about this. If you like for the cosmic shorts that I did, there's a reason why I did that. It's looking at the foundation. This is where it comes from. If you understand this, you get the rest of it. Then you start looking at the CRIST, which is an acronym for the code that creates the design, the tones. So you look at the Kathara. All you need is Kathara level 1 to understand this. I go back to their origin. I look at it and okay, first thought, intention, vibration. Okay, that's the program. And then it's embodied with the complete source consciousness. What does that mean? Simply means the construct, the design, the code for the construct. And what does it do? Okay, then now it's copied. What is it? It's copied. So what is the copy? It's the irae. People go, oh, then God must be a woman. Neither. It's just a design, folks. Get over yourselves, okay? It's not masculine. It's the polarization that we've come up with calling it feminine and masculine. It's a polarization. But the first copy of that is what is understood as being the irae. And then the irae inverts. What's the inversion? It's the opposite of that. So if you have magnetism, what do you got? electrical. You know, if you have vibration, what do you got here? Oscillation. Pre-sound, pre-light. It's an inversion. And then it goes back into the unipsi. Actuality, it never leaves the unipsi. It always stays within it. Everything is within that consciousness of source. It's within it. There's nothing outside of it, within that reality field. So it's not, only reason why you see like demonstration that the particai and then the particum comes out and it splits and becomes the particay and that inversion takes place, that's for your mind. So you can say, oh, I can make sense of it. But in truth, it's not doing that. It's staying within itself. It's just duplicating over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But the first copy, again, was the Ire. So, you know, you can look at it from that perspective and come to your conclusions. But it's simple to say that if I create a song, it's a reflection of me. It's a mirroring of my soul. But is it my soul? No. Neither is any other creation, including a source's creation. You notice I said source's creation. I pluralized that because everybody thinks it's just one, and there's not just one.
There's many.
And there's some that are here that are source. You function in different roles and different levels. You subdivide. You go inside and merge with other beings, as well as this being does the same with other beings, in order to experience self differently, in order to perpetuate creation.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're transcendent of this. So that's another reason why I don't buy into the religious thing. And when people say, well, you got to do this, you got to do that, and here's the definition for what the individuation of source is, and I'm going, hold up. That may be your definition, but I don't stop there. I see a greater picture. And I learned those things when I was alone in my bedridden state, not because somebody indoctrinated me. In fact, it was the antithesis of what I had been indoctrinated into. Okay, so that being said, there's a lot of things that you can do with your hands, and just being aware that that's there. And the whole idea of clearing yourself is, and how do you clear yourself? There's mechanics to this. Yes, there is. But the trump card for me is your genuine self of who and what you are. Love trumps it all. Your nature of who you are, the love being that you are, uniquely, when that's reintegrated within you, and that's through the intention. Okay? It's through your intention. Because let me say this. I've seen people, and another thing that kind of just makes me want to run away from anything to do with religion, and I've seen it within Keylontic science. I mean, I spent 27 years in Christianity. I think I know religion. I was in service for 15 years. I dealt with demon possession situations in case and exorcism. I think I know a thing or two, and I definitely know what religion looks like, and that's what it looks like. People say, well, it wasn't like that before. It doesn't matter. I don't know. It doesn't make any difference. I just know when people substitute wanting to be right over the expression of love and care, I have a problem with that. There's such an adamant zealousness about being right and wrong. You know, that turns into killing people eventually.
Yeah.
Because you have to be right.
That's dangerous.
You know, it is. In people that supposedly have what they consider to be the truth, if love is not at the forefront of that, you don't got anything. You have nothing. You just have a bunch of so-called knowledge that you can't put to practice.
And I'm gonna make a key point too.
Sure.
I'm gonna kind of step back to about my channels. I do that through love, because I see a lot of everyone misunderstanding and not seeing what I see. And I'm like, you know what? I love everyone. I'm going to share them with what I know. Whoever sees it can gain that knowledge. Whoever chooses to listen and really think will be gifted wisdom and knowledge.
I agree.
For those who seek it and want to know and are tired of experiencing all this chaotic stuff happening.
Yeah. Well, I encourage people to go check you out. Go to his channel, you know. Say hi to Joe. Subscribe to his channel if it's something
I'm on
that
Rumble as well.
if it fits with what you know. If you gel with it, you've been listening to Joe talking. Joe's pretty balanced young man, and I respect Joe. and I'm thankful for his assistance in being there for me. So go check him out. Go check out his channel. Go say hi at least. And that's something that I've been meaning to do. I've been talking to you, so I haven't really had. I'd really been doing a lot of other things. I've been never really checked out
Is
what you
there
have on
is
your
there
channel.
is there anything
So
that you want to talk about your channel? Any upcoming ideas, projects aside from the podcast?
no, just on a personal level, I'll go ahead and make mention. We got like we're in hour
About hour
4
and 30
minutes or
minutes
so.
almost.
Yeah, hour four. What it says 4 minutes here, but it doesn't matter. Point is that most people won't be watching this.
No.
At any rate, I'm going to be doing probably within the next couple of days. I'm going to be receiving a package for a cleanse kit by which Deborah Winter had got for me. Blessings to her for that. It was just this is such a huge thing, but it's going to be very taxing on me. And honestly, I'm just going to say this clearly. I don't know if I'm going to be able to survive it. I don't know. But because I'm not going to go into detail what it's all about, but I know my body and I know what I've gone through, and I'm really surprised that I'm still here. I
Yeah.
shouldn't be. I almost died twice on the toilet. So, but anyhow, so I'm going to be doing that for about a week at least. It's going to there's a lot of preparation that I have to do for it. Fasting and juice fasting and all that stuff, which I've been kind of doing anyhow, because I haven't been able to eat. Long story short is this. I have to go through a process before I can do it. And once I do it, so I don't, I'm saying giving myself a week. Then after that, if it's successful and turns out the way that I'm hoping that it will, I use that word hope. It's not very spiritual. It's more religious using that word, but it is what it is. So that I go through what I'm needing to go through. And if I make it on the other side, then I can begin to rebuild myself. And one of the things I'm going to do once I get to a certain point is to sell this place. We're talking about earlier about joy, and this is really what I rather focus on, because what I've been doing on my YouTube channel hasn't given me that much joy. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. It went from what I wanted it to be to something that I didn't want to participate in. That's true. And what is that, Randy? Well, I'll tell you. Initially, I wanted to, from the very beginning, to create community. And I'm not talking about online community. I'm talking about boots on the ground in your own neighborhood community. People that are accountable when they say something and they're going to be there, you know they're going to be there. Not people that are flipping and flying in the wind. Now, there's a few people that are what I would call the uncommon folk that you find online because they are there, but they're not the commonplace. You, as an example, you're an uncommon folk. There is very few uncommon folk. Okay. So what am I going to do? Art. That's what I wanted to do and hadn't been able to do. 62. I'm actually at my prime now where I'm just feel like I'm starting to be able to. I'm very clear and centered about me, and again, rejoining and reconnecting. I'm at that stage now. And I want to sell everything, and I want to buy stuff that I really want musically, and I'm going to hit the road. Even if it's for a short-lived time, I will be free. This place has been like a prison to me, you know? And I've been going outside of myself and being of service to others and doing things through my energy, through my spirit, while at the same time I'm waiting to leave. You have to love you. And you can't, here's the thing, Joe, you can't be what other people want you to be. And at times what we do is we end up sacrificing things that we seemingly couldn't do for now doing this, and we accept it. But it's not really you. You know what I'm saying? It's not really where your heart's at. It's not what you really love to do. And so, generally speaking, but for me specifically, composing, writing film. I got screenplays, I got books. And I didn't want to do the book thing because I'll be another schmuck writing a book. I always felt that being overrated. Sorry. For me, what was more important was taking the skills that I have and telling a story in a full package. So I prefer screenplays than a book. That's me. I haven't been able to do film, period. But like I said, I've got screenplays. I got great ideas. I want to be able to go out and perform and play. I don't really like the word perform, but I'll use that word. I want to go off and do what I love to do and be happy and have for a brief, even if it's for a brief moment within this time while I'm here, to be free and to be happy, regardless of the circumstance. And the trial and tribulation and suffering and trauma has allowed me to reach that level to see beyond the circumstance in my suffering. And you can't teach anybody that. You can teach no one that. You have to go through it. And I have. And I'm continuing. But I just want, it's like when I did, now I'm going to get off on the KS music, if you don't mind. I want to do that for a second because my channel is about reflection of my soul, and most people don't get it.
Yeah.
When I did Ire Cum Nare, it is so different from the original song, which I never heard purposely. I didn't want to be influenced. Why? Because I'm an artist. I want to go art, you know? So when I did that, you listen to it as that song, the way I wrote it. See, let me turn this thing back on and play a little bit of this. Okay. All right. The vocals for this, really hard to sing. I don't know if you've seen the range. I'm hitting these notes like I'm hitting that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's hard. The melody's not for everybody, but here's the thing. The soul and the energy, I'm clearing the room with that. And one of the other reasons why I'm better today is because the intention through which I do things causes healing to happen in my body. The pain goes away. The ability, I don't have this spasming thing. Things go away, and all of a sudden I get elevated. That's what happens when you're in the same room with me when I do this, when I play, when I sing. And this online thing, people don't get it because they're not here to feel it. They have no idea. And to me, I don't care. I don't want to do that no more because I want to go, like I mentioned before, I want to find my tribe. Doesn't matter. I don't care where they're at. It doesn't make any difference. It's a stranger that invites me into, or somebody that shows up. I am going to be able to do, I will be very discerning about everything because I didn't go through everything that I've gone through not to be. But I want to be in the same room with people, not through the internet, but in the same room. Because I personally have experienced that. I know the difference where most people don't. Because the generation that we have today is online. It doesn't have these personal experiences like I've had. And I know how it can be. And how when you get people in the same room, in the same agreement with the same energy, whoa, things can happen that you can't and will not happen online. Now you can get a residual effect through video, but it's not the same thing. Not the same thing. So it goes back to what I mentioned before about substituting. I'm not interested in substituting because I experienced the real thing. And I've been substituting for a very long time. I want to be able to do what I want to do that hadn't been able to, and I'm not going to give any room for it anymore. So I'm going to sell everything, get myself a vehicle, sell all the stuff that I'm not going to take with me, only take the things that I want, and buy with that I've always wanted, professional keyboard, finally. pay $3, $4, $5,000 for it and get something that's going to last for the rest of this incarnation, not wear out, not be worried about if I play it too hard, it's going to start breaking down on me, like that thing over there. You know, had been less than a year, broke down. That's the reason why I get this. I bought this right here. I couldn't afford it, but that wouldn't work. And I'm going, oh, I just $700 I paid for this. And it's a decent board, but I can already feel it starting to go. And I've been babying it too. I don't want that. I want something that has everything that I need and is able to do everything I want, and I can beat on it like you would a regular keyboard if you wanted to, or a piano, and it's going to hold up. You know, so that's going to cost some money. So that, and a couple of guitars I have, acoustic guitars and stuff. Probably sell some of that, except for my Seagull that I have. That's never. I've had that for a long time, and it's never been in a case, ever. Well, I transported it once before in a case, but outside of that, the majority of the time, I would say 97% of the time, through cold, through heat, you would think it would crack. Man, that thing sounds good. So like, that's a keeper, you know, regardless. So I converted it from a 12 string to a 6 string. All right. And, you know, just a couple of things that I really really like, you know, and get my Zen 10, that instrument that I had built. I designed it and Jeff Martin built it. I want to get that fixed, you know, and have that. Then have the War guitar that I have, which is over there, have it refretted with the proper frets so it actually plays right. And that's kind of like it. And just get a few other things that I know that I can use, and I can go in, I can plug in this, plug in that, boom, I'm ready to go, you know. You know, cameras, just things that I know, because I'm going to continue to do the online thing, but in a different way. I will post things, you know, but I'm not going to get into the teaching things and all this stuff. This is the rest of my life, is this stuff. That's what I want to do. And so that's what I'm going to do. And again, going back to your joy, your love and everything, you're robbing yourself if you don't, you know. And it's easy to make excuses because of circumstances. Hey, you might not be here this afternoon, you know, after this afternoon. So you got to just stop, you know. So I've gone through enough where it's like, oh, okay, you know, putting on blinders now so that I can only see in front of me. I'm not looking onto the sides. It's just forward motion, you know.
Yeah.
Because, you know, again, to reflect on the music in relationship to the last video that I put out, I'm going to say this very clearly. There is nothing special about KS music. Nothing. Harmonically, there's nothing special, and it's all in 440. The majority of it is in 440. So big deal. Who cares? Is there some kind of special movement going on? Are you enunciating the tones in a certain way? No, there's license that is taken artistically to reshape the words from their original tonal sound according to the way that they were given. So no, there's nothing special. So when somebody comes along, such as myself, that didn't listen to any of it, and then I come up with my own stuff, even for the Vecca, for, you know, Mueva, so on and so forth, all that I came up with had nothing to do with hearing what any of this stuff's supposed to sound like, except for just the basic pronunciation of the word itself or the tones, and that was based on looking at how it's spelled, and the capital being it, like for a capital A, it has an A sound, and for small, it has an A sound, and then you have, you know, a hyphen on it or whatever in order to stretch the sound out. For like if it has an H, and then you stretch that out from the A, that type of thing. That's the only thing I had to go on, and that's all I wanted to go on. So I came up with my own music, and all that music happened in one evening, one after the other. That was inspired. And I recorded it all basically the same time. I don't know if it was 2 days I recorded it the next day. I think I did it the same day. It was in the evening.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get a lot from that. Then you have what are called the religious people within KS. Oh, it has to be done a certain way. We've been at this for a very long time. That's not how it's done. You know what I have to say to that? I don't care. Religious person, I'm not religious. I am a creator. If you don't want to claim your own ability as a creator, that's fine. Don't come stomping in my woods telling me how to run my soul. And that's the way I've felt around a lot of these groups. And that's the reason why I left them. And I looked to disassociate myself from Keylontic morphogenic science. I still communicated it on the creation mechanics level, but also emphasized that I'm looking at it theoretically. Some of it I can relate to and connect with and see it as being valid and being the structure design, because I can see that within science here. Okay, certain things in regard to electromagnetics, electromagnetic spectrum. What is that? It's the shock, it's dimensional bands. Color, frequency, hello. I mean, certain things, and such as as an example, George Casavesal's model for this universe, that coincided with it. Actually, George had a little bit more going on, which is not taught within Keylontic science. In that regard to the fourth dimensional bands, the synthetic-like constructs that exist within that, that's a whole subject in video or podcast unto itself concerning that, which most people are completely naive of. There's one particular book that was put out called The War in Heaven. It deals with a little bit of that. It will freak you out. It will, because people are going, they think things are chaotic here, and there's a whole lot of agendas going on here. Oh, you don't know the half of it. This stuff extends extensively. So, point being is that there's certain things that I subscribe to, but the religious ceremonial things, no. Like the elemental commands, I did my own thing with that because I related to it on a creation level in relationship to consciousness and connecting with the elements, because it's all conscious. So I did it my way. I have no idea how it's supposed to be done. I don't know. I did it without hearing or being influenced. Everything that I've done in regard to any of this music has been that way, except for one thing. The last thing that I put out, which was, what was it called? I get this written down somewhere. So I do so much stuff. You know how this works, Joe. You do stuff and you go, what was I doing? What did I do that? What was that? Yeah. What was I doing then? I have to go back and kind of look at it, because you're just so busy going from one thing to another. You kind of, if you don't make record of it, you end up forgetting it. I think it's, oh, here it is. Good for me. I do write these things down. They're somewhere. I just have to look for them, usually in front of me. Un. Umaun. You did hear that, right?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. Well, I heard that when I was looking at this other. When I finally start listening to the KS music, just to see, okay, how does it go, or how it went originally. And then I began to transcribe some of it and said, oh, this is in 440. Oh, wait a second, these melodies aren't that special. Oh, there's license being taken in the way that it's sung. I go, so what I'm doing is perfectly fine then. And everybody's accusing me, oh, he's not staying to the way it's supposed to be done. Anyhow, so I heard that. And when I heard it, I go, oh, that's cool. And so I went ahead and did a version of it. First, I only listened to I listened to 30 seconds of it. And then I just said, okay. And I just had it. And I said, okay. And then that's what I came up with. I said, okay. So I probably have other things that yeah. And well, I added to it. It. That is is it Atiyun Ea, right? Which I thought that was, it just it's like this. It's I knew what that was, and then I seen it. I don't know really. Sometimes these things flow so quickly. It's hard for me to. I have to kind of retract how I went through the process, because it just like that. And I seen that phrase and I go, okay, that fits. So I sung that phrase independently over top of it. And people listen to it. And people probably never heard it before. They have no idea. That doesn't exist in the other original. It doesn't exist. And I put it in there. Why? Because that's what I do. I'm a creator, you know, and I don't need to feel like, oh, you can't do that because you're part of the KS thing. You have to stay on point. And I've had certain people come and say, he's not exactly KS. And I'm going, thank you. Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's another reason why I kind of been, because for certain people within the Keylontic science movement, I've been an outcast. I'm a heretic, you know. And I carry that badge with honor.
That's fine. You're doing your own thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can't do that when you're within religion. Oh no. See, you got to understand, 27 years in Christianity, I've seen a lot of denominations and I know how people are.
Yeah,
That's religion.
that's why I
Oh,
never was really
well,
getting
you're
in
lucky.
or
See,
tried
that's
to
what
get
I
into
said,
religion.
fortunate. That's why I use the word fortunate. Yeah, there we go. I'm voicing myself, obviously, here, kind of clearing the air. I really don't want to do this channel that I'm doing the way that I'm doing it anymore. I just don't. I'll leave it. I'm really not sure what I'm going to do with it at all. Honestly, if I go, when I go, am I going to be posting on that channel? I don't even know if I'll be posting anything, you know, because again, to emphasize, and I know I'm being very long-winded, but this is a very long-term thing for me. This is my entire life. So it's not easily summarized. Actually, it's not, you can't summarize it at all, but the point I'm trying to do is refer to, I don't know what I'm going to be doing because I don't want to do this anymore, because it's been a substitution for what I couldn't do, you know, and it's unacceptable at this stage of my life. I go, no, if I expire in the process, that's fine. I'm good, but I'm not gonna go through this. I'm not going to be locked into this place, which has become like a prison. And I have no income coming through here anyhow. And my needs have been met month by month, squeaking by the nose. And I'm thankful for that, but that's no way to live. You know, meaning being in isolation, as you well know, Joe, that ain't any good. I mean, eventually you get to a point where, like, as an example, people get like where I'm at now. My parents are dead. My siblings, next to nothing. I don't hear anything about them. They might as well be strangers. I don't have any people that I really know. I know them, but not really. You know what I mean? I don't have any relationships, truly. Closest relationship I have is with my cat. I don't know how you spell that, but for me, it dispels disappointment. It's not good, especially when you are not being who you really want to be. And when you do express who you really are, it's to the wrong crowd. And that's what I've been doing on my channel for the majority of what's there. As long as it fits in to the KS bubble and it's not too far out, I'm accepted. But when I start really doing me and I start really communicating my convictions, I mean, blatantly, without reservation or without filtering, oh, you won't have nothing to do with this guy. And go, oh, good. Feelings mutual. Because I didn't want to be here anyhow. And that's the reason why I closed down the Freedom Teachings group and all that other stuff and handed it over to other people. And when I did that, they archived it because they didn't want to deal with it. And now they know the reasons why. They go, people are a problem. I go, you think? Get some real wackos, man. I'm telling you. I'm just going to call it for what it is. There's some nutters out there, man. And especially within these communities, lots of nutters. I mean, I've had people come on my channel and tell me how to do things, how to run things, and demand that I do it their way. I'm not kidding. Call me a fucking idiot and everything else. I had people threaten me to come. I had people to threaten me and come from all the way from the East Coast, 3,000 miles, to come out here and kick my ass. And I go, people are idiots. Number one, you come out here, you're going to kick my ass. How do you know if I'm not just going to shoot you in the head? It's stupid. You see, these are the things I've dealt with for years. Things like that. That doesn't mean everybody's like that. No, there's some great people out there. But I want a relationship that I have there's an accountability to me and to them in the way that I understand it to be genuine and authentic,
yeah.
not
The way I see
fakery.
that.
Yeah, the etiquette online is just, I don't want to participate.
Well, the thing about online is that the minute you say something that could be misperceived,
Yeah.
that's where it can get you.
Yeah, because again, this goes back to what I mentioned earlier, and you can totally relate to this, I'm sure, and anybody in the sound of my voice can, that you have a certain definition based on what you're communicating. And if you don't communicate your defined aspect of what you mean behind that, people are going to reinterpret it. And even if you define it clearly, there will always be those that stop listening at some point and interpret it their way, and therefore start throwing their judgment or call, or start throwing stones from their glass house. I don't got time. See, that doesn't happen. My experience, that's not happen in the real world. Why? Because I don't engage with people like that. And the ones that I do engage with have a respect and equal accountability. That's what I mean about the real world and the real world community. Online, you have people flittering around like a bunch of bugs, landing on this, landing on that, and you can use your imagination what things they're landing on and what type of insect they may be. Okay, just saying. A little bit of humor if you really think about it. The point is that I'm old school. I think it's normal to be able to have a personal connection, and if I do have connection with people online, like I have, they're the remnant, the very few, the uncommon people. That what you see is what you get. They're not trying to be pretentious. They're really just working at being themselves and being vulnerable. Once you get to know one another, they become vulnerable about it. That's very uncommon. But those are the people that I connect with and the people that I relate to. And I'm thankful for that. But I want it to extend itself out into a real world community, things where people, everything tells on you. You have to be accountable. You say something, you can't duck away and hide behind your keyboard. You have to fulfill it. You have to, see through what you say, meaning what you say and saying what you mean, letting your yes be yes, let your no be no. I mean, these are common virtues, You don't need a 12 list of mastery. You just need to basically do simple things,
Yeah.
Go back to what I was talking about in the beginning. Is your joy. Your
Yeah.
joy means your authentic joy of the nature of who you are as a being. That's the catalyst primary for you doing anything. Because within that, if you have joy, you can bypass the artificial emotion of fear, because fear is an artificial emotion. It's not a real one.
Yeah.
So the point is that when you see somebody do something new, dear God, encourage them. Don't say, oh, that doesn't fit into my belief system. That should ring a bell in your head. Belief system? Because it's not knowing. You're just following what other people have been teaching you. You don't know for yourself.
Yeah.
Shut this off. All right, folks, for those who listen to the end, yay for you.
Or until this point,
If you
give you a gold star. I'll comment.
Here, I'm going to say
Just
this. Me and Joe's going to ask a question right now. How many fingers are we holding up here at the end? So if you remember that, you'll post it in the comment section. So there's Joe's, and then I got mine. So you can count that. All right. That'll let us know that you actually watched it to the end.
Yeah.
All right, folks. We'll talk to you whenever we talk to you. Thanks for dropping by, and go check out Joe's channel. Goodness gracious. All right.